All right, it is 7 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to our organizational meeting. This will be a pretty quick meeting, and then we're going to go on to our regular meeting for tonight. But first, B1 is our election of officers for the year. I'm going to read this. Portions of KSA 728202A, 728202C, and 728202D read at the first meeting of the Board of Education in July of each year. The board shall elect a president and vice president, both of whom shall be members of the board. The president and vice president shall serve for a term of 1 year or until his successor is elected and qualified. The Board of Education of each school district shall appoint a clerk who shall serve at the pleasure of the board. The Board of Education shall appoint a treasurer who shall serve at the pleasure of the board. So I would entertain a motion for the office of president for 2016-2017 school year.
I nominate Sarah Goodburn.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. Thank you, Dr. Denny. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, so it was 6-1. So I will be your president again for the 16-17 school year. Thank you. All right, I would entertain a motion for the office of vice president.
I would like to nominate Dr. Craig Denny.
Thank you, Ms. Sela.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. Any discussion? All those in favor of electing Dr. Craig Denny to vice president, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Get that? Okay. All right, vote is 5-2, and Craig will be serving as vice president for the next school year.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. There's two reasons that I was not able to vote positive for this position. One, because of the change in the election years, we are electing somebody to a vice president role that's presumed that they would then be moving on to a president role. We typically groom our leadership that way. The candidate that was presented will be up for re-election next school year. I'm not comfortable electing somebody to a leadership role where they would then be up for re-election in that year. Presumably, a year from right now, they'd be campaigning for re-election to keep their board seat at the same time serving as president. I'm not comfortable with that. Secondly, we were provided an opportunity a year ago to present our ideas for having a formal election process. We have no written process to do what we just did. A year ago, we were told that if we submitted by September 30, processes that could be considered for electing our officers, it would be considered. We asked repeatedly through the year, I can only speak for myself, no process was brought forward. The only thing that was brought forward was the current president, the current vice president said we will do it again the following year. I was then asked if I could also nominate from the floor, to which I was said no, it's an up or down vote. That's why I cast the vote that I did. We have a lot in front of this board over the next 12 months, and I challenge this board and this leadership to be proactive in addressing what's before us. Communicating with the public, communicating with us will be very important. I don't feel this decision was made by the 7 of us. That's my concern. I will be speaking out going forward. I will be speaking on my behalf as myself as a board member. I can't speak for this board. I am only going to speak in this role, one of 7 board members. The silence has been deafening from this board over the last 2 weeks, and we need to speak out. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to explain my vote.
Okay. All right, we will now elect treasurer.
I move that we appoint Dr. Rick Atha as treasurer.
Second.
All righty. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it's approved 7-0.
I move
For-
we appoint Mr. Russell Knapp as the deputy treasurer.
Okay,
Second.
second. Thank you, Dr. Denny. Thank you, Ms. Sela. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion carries 7-0. Sorry, Ms. Wintering.
Okay.
For clerk.
I move we appoint Mrs. Terry Wintering as our board clerk.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Dr. Denny. Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all. Okay, I move to D1, approval of routine business by consent. Looking for a motion?
Move approval of routine business by consent.
Thank you, Ms. Seela.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That moves us down to the consent agenda. To recommended for action, resolution to establish Board of Education meeting dates for the 16-17 fiscal year. You've been provided those dates.
I would move approval of F1.
Thank you, Ms. Seela. Thank you, Ms. Neighbor. All those in, what?
We need to adopt the agenda.
Can we skip that?
We
Did we do
skipped.
that? You,
Yeah, we probably missed it.
I
Oh.
did consent agenda. I approved,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I guess I missed C1. Did I miss C1?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for correcting me before we did that. All right, C1, let's go back to C1.
I would move approval of the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. Thank you for catching me.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all for catching that for me. All right, so now that moves us down to recommended action. Did we have a motion on the floor for that?
We did. I moved.
You moved?
And Mrs. Neighbor, I believe, seconded.
Okay, okay. All right, so now we are up for a vote for that. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, so F2 is the ratification of policies.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Denny.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And that ends our organizational meeting. So we will be going to our regular meeting here shortly, as soon as Ms. Wintering can change us out and get to the next meeting. Just be a few minutes.
We do the whole meeting.
How do we get up? Go back to the meeting.
We've just been good citizens.
We can do that. You have to do the right, it's your choice.
Whenever she's ready.
Some music here.
Yes, again.
I'm in. It's whatever's on the screen, though. Is it supposed to be something different on the screen because it's saying organizational meeting?
I've got it.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
in the regular meeting.
I will call the our regular meeting to order. We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance, so is that okay with everyone? We've already done that? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to B1, the report by the superintendent. Dr. Henson.
It's hard to believe as we are preparing to start school on August 12. We're here at this juncture again. I want to share some information regarding some exciting partnerships that are underway in the Shawnee Mission School District. Tonight, we want to highlight our work with Kansas State University. I'd like to introduce Assistant Superintendent Dr. Christy Ziegler, who will share some details about our very exciting partnership with Kansas State University. Dr. Ziegler.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share out a little bit of our work. You have, I believe, a summary of some of the projects that have come to fruition through partnership that I believe started last spring. Had the opportunity to visit K-State and have continued conversations along with Dr. Henson and Dr. Hubbard. And what you have in front of you, I'm just going to highlight a few key pieces of what's resulted over the last school year and what we have accomplished together. I am very excited to tell you that this has been one of the most beneficial partnerships through an outside organization that I've ever been able to participate with. And I think both of us together, Kansas State University and the Shawnee Mission School District, would tell you there's been great work and great benefit to both of our organizations. And I'll tell you a little bit along the way of what I think some of those aside benefits might be. First up, Terry, do you have access to them? There we go. Just to highlight some of the key areas of partner focus. A lot what you have in the book here is put on through the College of Education, and we did expand from the College of Education in being able to speak and interact with the College of Agriculture, veterinary medicine, research, the College of Human Ecology, which is where hospitality management, early childhood education reside within the university. But some key areas of our focus and outcomes, we started with educational technology highlight. It fit very naturally with our digital learning initiative. So Cindy Kuhn is a member of the teaching team that interacts with all pre-service education students in the College of Education. Every student coming out of the College of Education takes a class with Cindy Kuhn on how to enhance teaching and learning with technology. Cindy came into our district 1 day a week as part of the K-State partnership. She put on over 22 what we call catalog class workshops after school for teachers. She developed relationships with teachers that led to co-teaching opportunities. She also followed along with our student teaching interns that were placed from Kansas State University and also got to work in the schools where they were placed. Was also available to our principals for staff meetings, professional development opportunities through professional learning days, and also interacted with our instructional coaches to put on additional opportunities throughout the school year. So you will see direct contact with about 285 of our teachers is what we have captured through our data collection and impacting over 4,200 of our students with benefit. So we're very excited about that partnership there with the College of Education and Ed Tech. Again, enhanced our digital learning initiative. It was a great fit. What Cindy has been able to do is take the learning experiences of practicing in our classrooms back to how she is preparing future teachers that will then come back to us as student interns at some point, we hope. Shawnee Mission has got a great reputation within the College of Education, and we love that, and we're going to keep that going. English is a second language, Dr. Herrera. So Dr. Herrera is a bundle of energy and a dynamo within K-State and has led the SEMA, the Center for Intercultural and Multilingual Advocacy. She has changed our vocabulary. No longer do we use the terminology of English as a second language with our learners. They are culturally and linguistically diverse learners. She has expanded our horizons on teaching strategies to incorporate our students into the learning setting much faster than I believe we have been able to approach them in the past. And what she has done for us is not only come in and worked with teachers in what were our English language centers, but she has come in and modeled some of the best professional learning opportunities for all principals. She taught them as a teacher. Not only is she a researcher and a great and very successful grant writer, but she is a teacher at the heart and came and modeled amazing instruction for all of us. She also had the opportunity to interact directly with our instructional coaches, which we know then gives them additional tools to go back and support our teachers in the classroom. So you will see 7 schools that were our center schools as our first area of focus that interacted with her team. They each had a K-State faculty member through that center, the SEMA group that came in and did model teaching and provided professional development. Over 100 hours throughout the year were received by teachers in those schools. 109 classroom observations and co-teaching opportunities also resulted. And they see this as a benefit to continue their work in what works in meeting the needs of learners from diverse populations. So great outcomes there. Next up, I'll highlight the innovative, and we've added innovative professional development schools. They were PDS schools in the past, now we have an I. We are embarking on a new journey for K-State and their Professional Development Alliance. We are adding 3 elementary sites in the district. So Blue Jacket Flint, Broken Arrow, and Apache will be joining the PDS school designation. And so what that means is additional professional development support, but also strategic placement of interns so that they have an intern network in the building. And K-State faculty will have direct opportunity to interact with them in a cohesive group in those schools. But we are embarking on a research agenda to see what happens when not only do you take that co-teaching model with the cooperating teacher, the intern, but what we've added in our instructional coaches to the equation, which really hasn't been done or hasn't been well researched. So they're excited about that opportunity to maximize and build on what we've implemented in the district. So that will be kicking off here with in-service time, some professional learning time with K-State. And part of that time will be learning how to use Swivel. So you may have seen an acronym, SWIVEL. This is Swivel. Swivel doesn't look like a whole lot, but it is a little robot that all of our student teaching interns come to us with, and we have been using a little bit through our instructional coaches. It has a spot to hold an iPad. We use the camera on the iPad. Swivel connects with a receiver that is worn by whoever is teaching, and it allows teachers, student teachers, teaching interns, instructional coaches to videotape in a very safe way via the iPad and then upload their video so the cooperating teacher at K-State can then look and give feedback, or an instructional coach can. This receiver, anywhere I go, will talk back to this receiver and allow the iPad camera to follow me so that I can capture my own teaching. It also is awesome because that's a very tough situation to be in. If you want to look at your own practice and to have somebody videotape you, now I can do this on my own. I can look at it, and then I can dialogue with my K-State faculty member. So that's one of the changing dynamics with our pre-service education that we see some benefit also in the district. Our coaches used these this last year to capture some PD where we did some differentiated instruction and had different breakouts going where maybe teachers couldn't go to all of the sessions, but they could capture the video and watch it at their own leisure. So that's another enhancement that's come to us through partnership. Just to give you an update, or you can see the numbers that are printed. Last year in the fall, we had 0 student teachers placed from Kansas State in our school district. Again, that was 0. This year, we're very excited to welcome 19 student teaching interns that will join us on the first day that teachers are back. They start with our teachers, they follow their schedule. So that's an awesome opportunity for us to, again, impact the future of the profession as well. So we're excited about that. Last on this slide, I'll talk a little bit Global Systems, a new signature program that's launching with the introductory course this fall. 2 key people that have helped us launch that, and that's in partnership through the College of Agriculture. Associate Dean Don Boggs helped us with industry partners and help craft who to have that could help advise us on what is the future for that type of program and how do we build a relevant learning experience for learners. Dr. Ralph Richardson came on board as the interim dean for K-State Olathe and CEO, and so he's been a great partner as well and will continue to be involved as we move forward with building that program. Terry, if you'll advance. I'll wrap up with the future. You had an opportunity to hear or read a little bit about the future of K-State and our partnership. It has now happened, so the future is now, I can say. The first bullet on your list is educational leadership. We began the doctoral cohort of Shawnee Mission this summer in June. Our administrators, we have 6. We have 17 that expressed interest, but 6 that could commit on a very fast timeline to launch the first cohort. So we do believe very strongly we have enough interest to pick back up on a second cohort in the near future, but 6 have endured through a 9-hour summer session, and that's pretty aggressive for starting a graduate program. So we're excited about that. We'll be working on building up a Master's Academy in Educational Leadership this year, and then you'll see that we've got a few other things happening. We're working with Dr. Bernard Franklin to kick off College Advising Corps. We'll be meeting with our counselors. We are benefiting from some grant funding through Kauffman Foundation and other partnerships that Dr. Franklin has been key in helping us navigate, so that we will have a College Advising Corps presence here in the Shawnee Mission School District, focused on college advisors through that corps at Shawnee Mission North, West, and South. What that means for us is the College Advising Corps is a national program that has been in place in Missouri, and Dr. Henson, I think, is very insightful of saying, why don't we have something like this for kids in the Kansas schools? So we will have a college advisor in place at those 3 sites that will receive over 400 hours of professional development over the year. They are recent college graduates. They relate to our high school students. They will be in place, they will be aware of the navigating the college pathway, financial aid, how to secure that, scholarships, how to apply, and great resources, not only for our students and families, but also for our counseling teams, I think, in our high school, to have that infusion of additional resource. So we're excited about that. That starts in the next few weeks. We've got several grant opportunities that are underway, an NSF proposal that we will be submitting in conjunction with K-State College of Education. It will be a research opportunity around STEM and project-based learning that will enhance title school programs. And then we also have 2 partnerships that we're anxiously waiting to hear back on for funding possibilities that are both in conjunction with Dr. Herrera and the culturally and linguistically diverse learners. So we have accomplished much. We're very excited about the partnership, and we're, again, very excited to share a very positive report with you for what we have accomplished together. We look forward to the future. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the report.
In addition, we want to talk a little bit about construction, because we have a lot of construction, remodeling, renovation taking place. Dr. Southwick?
Yeah, we do. And over the last about 18 months, a lot of the conversation has been around new elementary schools and the Center for Academic Achievement and technology upgrades and those kinds of things. And tonight I want to stray a little bit from that because we're 18 days from when school starts. That's hard to believe, 18 days. But there has been a tremendous amount of work that's been undertaken in the Shawnee Mission School District to upgrade our buildings, and I just wanted to highlight some of those tonight. I'm going to start off with Tomahawk Kitchen addition and renovation. That was a project that we had planned a year ago, and because of some permitting, we put that off. But that is moving forward, and we believe we're going to be in a situation where we'll be able to open up, if not the first day, pretty close after that. We did upgrading the fire system across McAuliffe, so there's a brand-new sprinkling system in there. That was one of the things that Lenexa had asked us to do, so they undertook that work this summer. We had 7 sites that had security door upgrades. Our last 7 buildings that we have as a part of our process, and looking at some of the locking systems, looking at some of the cylinders changed. That works about 95% complete right now and is on schedule to be open. Athletic turf, we've got 5 locations where we've got work going on. Our focus right now is to get the south done because it's the most important for us as we move forward and get ready for practices. But we have, along with South Indian Hills, Trail Ridge, Indian Woods, and Hawker Grove as well. And I think that work will probably be done, some of those starting to cycle through August and then on through September. We are resurfacing the track at Shawnee Mission Northwest. It's coming along. We've got security camera work and door controls at 5 of our middle schools. It's undertaken, about 90% complete. And this report came from Bob about a week ago, so we're a little bit further along even now than what we were then. And we got flooring improvement at 5 sites. HVACs work across the district, somewhere around $9 or $10 million worth of work we're doing this summer. A lot of work at North, a lot of work at East. If you've been in those buildings over the summer, they were an absolute nightmare. But we think we've got all the systems up and running now. Our custodians have worked to follow floor by floor to make sure that we'll be ready for the opening of school. No easy undertaking for sure. Controls at Santa Fe were upgraded as well. Sunflower units were set, Broken Arrow in the music room. We tore out carpet and tile and also cabinets and have remodeled those areas. At Indian Woods and West Ridge, they got new intercom systems this summer, so we look forward to that. Door hardware at 5 locations at East Antioch, Overland Park, Prairie, Santa Fe Trail, Westwood View. Mobile classroom removal, you remember we were tasked from the city of Shawnee. We actually, they let us stay a year longer than what we thought we'd have to, but we did agree to take that mobile unit out, so it's gone. Shawnee Mission North is receiving a massive innovation, renovation, and we're excited about that. I heard that the air conditioner is on in the building now. The flooring's going down, and as I talked to Dave Tappan at our retreat, and they have set for to use some of the older furniture until our new furniture comes in, and that'll be one of our first innovative libraries. Shawnee, the building was open, but we did not have the old building torn down. We didn't have the parking lot up, so we're working on those in the driveways. We need the rain, and it's hot, but it will be very nice if we didn't get 3 days of rain this week to help us meet that deadline. Security fencing at 7 sites. Fencing's been a little bit of a topic around the district with some of the cities, but working with John and Bob, we're trying to look at every place in the district to upgrade and make sure that our fencing is safe. Just about finished. 9 sites got roof work. All of that is 90 to 95% complete. We had 9 gym floors across the school district that we were taking care of. We did Johnson Control upgrades, and then, of course, the normal things that we do, changing filters, cleaning floors, cleaning the buildings. This is a very big campus across our school district. It is a major undertaking for the work to be done. And not only our contractors have done a great job, but I need to give a pat on the back to Mr. Robinson and his staff, all of our custodians that work so hard all summer long to make sure that when our kids come back, our buildings will be in great shape. So the last thing I would tell you is that work, as we look at the bond issue, we've completed about $30 million worth of upgrades across our district, getting ready to start on a second round of that. As we move forward, as you know, those were things that we knew that we needed to accomplish if we were going to continue to renew our district and repair our facilities and replace our facilities. So it's been exciting. There will be fast and furious work between now and the first day that kids come back. I'm sure we'll have some site somewhere where there's late night work going on, but I'm assured that we'll be prepared and ready with all that work. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
I'll get back on reports of buildings at next month.
Thank you, Dr. Southwick. The only other item I'd mention to you, Jump Start. In 14, there were 46 students enrolled in Jump Start. Last year, we had 196, and this summer, we're at 232 students in Jump Start at 13 different locations. We've drawn a lot of interest from foundations and funders. In fact, I'm giving a tour tomorrow to some individuals that want to come and see what we're doing with Jump Start. So we're having a great summer with Jump Start. Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn.
Okay, we move to D1, which is open forum. Addressing the board. During each regular business meeting, the Board of Education provides an open forum as an opportunity for public comment on school district issues. Agendas are published in advance to notify the community of the topics under consideration. Patron comments are welcome. The board president will place a time limit per speaker on open forum remarks. If a group has comments, a spokesperson should be selected to speak on behalf of the group. Written questions may be directed to the board and the administration for written response. Patrons who wish to speak in open forum should complete the request card and submit it to the clerk of the board prior to the beginning of the meeting. We have one tonight, one speaker. You can go ahead and come forward, Talis Bergmanis. And you're our only speaker tonight, so I'd say 5 minutes.
That'll be more than enough.
Okay, perfect.
For
Welcome.
conciseness, I'll read my comments. I'm here primarily to express my disgust at the raises for administrators, but let me add a few more items while I have the chance. I dislike the policy of decimating the district's librarian staff. Calling them innovation specialists doesn't disguise the fact that you're downgrading those important positions. I dislike Dr. Hinson's policy of sucking up to Brownback in the legislature, hoping that if we don't say anything to upset them, they might drop a few crumbs into our tin cup. And I particularly dislike the 10 to 15% raises granted administrators in secret and kept under wraps. I can't believe one of you didn't have the common sense to realize what a terrible message that sends to our teachers and what a club it gives to extreme right-wingers in the legislature. My wife and I are voters you want on your side. We've consistently voted against candidates whose policies would hurt our schools. You haven't lost our support completely, but you're about 90% of the way there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to E1, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting.
Move for approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 20th, 2016.
Thank you, Ms. Mack.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, adoption of the agenda.
So move.
Thank you, Dr. Denny.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sela. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approval of routine business by consent. G1.
Move approval of routine business by consent.
Thank you, Ms. Neighbor. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sela. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That moves us down. O1, Dr. Henson.
Dr. Atha is going to present some information tonight that impacts our classified employees. Welcome to the podium, Dr. Atha.
Thank you, Dr. Henson. I'll be brief. This evening, we are recommending the board consider approving classified salary schedule adjustments for custodians on grade 5, food service employees, all food service employees, district resource officers, paraprofessionals, and hard-to-fill technology positions. These positions are difficult to fill, and retention rates are very low. After conducting a market analysis, we learned that our compensation for these groups was not competitive with surrounding school districts. As a matter of fact, when comparing our food service salaries compensation with 12 surrounding school districts, we found that we ranked 12th out of 12th in all areas. In adjusting this compensation, it will not place us in the top 2 or 3, but it will place us in the median. And we are confident this investment will lead to better vacancy fill rates and aid with staff retention. And I think I may have left out a group. Also included in this group are our paraprofessionals. So with that said, I recommend that the board consider approving these salary adjustments, but I also stand ready and willing to answer any questions that you may have regarding this recommendation.
Any questions?
I have one. And the net cost of this is the $105,000 that is referenced there?
$105,000 for food service employees, of which I'm recommending that be paid out of the balances that we have in food service. Right now, over the last 5 years, we've been, under the leadership of Nancy Kokenauer, our director, and her team of 250 food service employees, they've improved the balances in food service significantly each of those 5 years. So that compensation for food service, I'm recommending be paid out of those balances. The other classified employees, the cost of that is $110,000, and that's after we made some adjustments in looking at the efficiencies in those departments and reinvesting, but the net cost will be $110,000, and we're recommending that that be paid out of the general fund.
Thank you.
I would move approval of the adjusted salary schedules.
Thank you, Ms. Zila. Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
P1, Business Services, Dr. Henson.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn. Mr. Dick Bartow is with us this evening. We're going to talk about some selling of some bonds and also some refunding of some bonds. Mr. Bartow, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Henson, Madam President, Board of Education. Truly my pleasure to be here. Let me introduce our financing team that's with me tonight. David Arterberry. David's a graduate of Shawnee Mission South. I won't tell you when he graduated, but he did graduate. And then Ben Thompson. Ben Thompson represents the law firm of Gilmore Bell, who served as bond counsel for the district for many, many years, and does a great job in representing the school district and things on bond counsel. I want to take you back 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, the district and the administration, the Board of Education, came forth with a vision. And that vision was to be the school district in which other school districts are measured by. But not just in the region, not just in the state, but across the country. And I want to congratulate you, because in those past 3 or 4 years, you guys have taken great strides in addressing a lot of those concerns, in obtaining that status of the district in which others are measured by. One of those strides was a very aggressive, and I can't emphasize how aggressive it was, facility remodelization, facility modernization, and facility upgrades all across the district as you looked at your facility. And in fact, about 2 years ago, the district, and we sat down with the administration and the district, and we put forth a list of needs and came up with well over $200 million. But we went to the voters in January of 2015 with a plan of $223 million worth of upgrades for the Shawnee Mission School District to help you continue on that path to achieve the vision. And I'm proud to say that of that $223 million that we asked the patrons for, over 80% of the patrons agreed and bought into the vision, and I congratulate you for that. And what we're here to do tonight is to issue the second tranche of those bonds. Last year, about this time, we issued the first tranche. Dr. Southwick is spending it just as fast as he possibly can. But it's all for the benefit of the kids, and let's don't forget that. I mean, this is a totally kid-driven process, and we're improving the lives of kids by the issuance of these bonds. Last year, we hit the market at a great time, okay? The district received or affirmed its AAA rating in spite of the issuances going on in Topeka. We are asking tonight for approval to bring the other half of that, $111,500,000, along with a refunding that will save considerable amount of money, to market. The interest rate market has been at an all-time low. Like I said last year, I don't think rates could get much lower. Well, they did. And we're looking at great interest rates with an opportunity to save a great deal of money. I'll let David talk a little bit about where we think we are as we go forward. David?
Thank you, Dick, and good evening. As Dick mentioned, tonight you're here you have a resolution in front of you that would authorize the issuance of the remaining $111,500,000. And just to give you an idea of what we expect this new issue to look like, we anticipate right now that the $111 million, the all-in interest rate on it will probably be somewhere in the neighborhood or slightly under 3% based on current market conditions. That's more than 0.5% or right about 0.5% lower than where interest rates were last year. So obviously market conditions are very good. The refunding or refinancing that was referred to earlier represents essentially the refinancing of a 2007 bond issue that the school district did. Those bonds have about $48 million outstanding and carry interest rates, an average rate of about 4.5%. Right now, we expect when we refinance that issue, the rate on that portion of the bonds would be about 2%. That should generate, in current dollars, over $6 million of savings in interest costs to the taxpayers of the school district. So Obviously, based on current market conditions and the opportunity to refinance, now represents a really good time to issue the remaining debt. As we look back at some of the projections that were done as part of the last bond issue, initially, when we were putting those projections together, we had anticipated that you wouldn't be able to issue this remaining debt probably until about 2018. But the combination of lower interest rates, plus the refinancing savings, plus the fact that your assessed valuation has grown very nicely over the last couple of years, have allowed you to accelerate and issue this debt earlier, and hopefully that will then mean that you can complete some of these projects and get them online a little bit earlier too. So that's kind of a summary of the issue. As far as our schedule from here, after tonight you have in front of you what we call the go-to-market resolution that authorizes the sale of the bonds. After that, we'll spend a good part of next month preparing the disclosure document for the issue, as well as having an update with Moody's Investors for the school district's bond rating. And then the plan would be to come back at your September meeting on the 26th with the actual final interest rates in hand. We'll have offered the bonds probably the week before that, and the board president will have signed the purchase agreement, but on the 26th of September, then we should be able to present the results to you. Then the closing of the issue would occur a few weeks later, and the bond proceeds should be in your account sometime in probably the first half of October. So just kind of an update, and obviously be welcome to, or be willing to answer any questions you might have.
Can you imagine borrowing $100 million for 20 years at 3% or less? I just laugh. I mean, I don't know. So anyway, that's all I can do. Does anybody have any questions we might be able to answer?
Do the bonds that you're proposing have any call provisions? I can't see
Yes.
that in there.
Yeah, we will have a call provision. Probably we'll start out with 10 years. We'll see if we can improve that as the market goes. But for an issue this size, call provision is normally half of the length of the bonds. The bonds will go out 20 years, so we'll probably have a call provision 2026 at par.
And how about the bonds that are being essentially refinanced?
Yeah, they'll be included in that as well.
But did they have call provisions too?
They had a call provision 2016, and they'll be included into the whole debt, so we'll just have to blend them all together and see what we have there.
I just was trying to anticipate that it would be great to be able to get out in front of a future call.
Sure.
By refinancing.
Yeah, we continue to monitor that very closely.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Awesome job.
Well, thank you.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's truly our pleasure to work with the district and helping the ongoing vision and helping you to achieve that, the districts which all others are judged by.
Sarah?
We have a resolution. Go ahead.
I was just going to move the resolution to sell general obligation bonds.
Thank you, Ms. Bisfield. We have a
Second.
second. Second, Dr. Denny. Any other further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Truly our pleasure. We look forward to a great sale, and we'll be excited to bring our results back to you in September.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, P2, Dr. Henson.
Thank you. We annually we're required to publish a notice of hearing for the 16-17 budget. It requires board action to publish a notice in the paper, and so we're asking for permission, which is required by statute, to publish a notice of hearing.
Dr. Denny?
Second.
Mrs. Mack? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all. Okay, R1. This is our annual membership for KASB, membership renewal. The Board of Education will consider membership in the Kansas Association of School Boards organization for July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2017. The membership dues are $19,134.
I move we renew our membership.
Thank you, Dr. Denny.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sela. Discussion. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, R2, we have committee Board of Education Committee appointments. And we can do these just as one slate, I believe. So we have Kansas Association of School Boards. I think you all can read it. Board of Directors, Nominating Committee, Legislative, Governmental Relations Network, and the SMAC Area Council PTA. You all
moved.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Seela. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all for serving in those positions too this year. We appreciate it. Okay, S1, CBIZ, Dr. Henson.
We appreciate Dave Johnson being here tonight from CBIZ. I'm going to ask Dr. Southwick if he would do the formal introduction, please.
You can come forward, Mr. Johnson. Dave is our representative from CBIZ that works with us, I won't say on a yearly basis, really on a monthly, weekly basis as we look at our benefits program across the entire district. And I think the news that he's going to share tonight will not be new news to the board, but I think it's good that we have a report, talk about a trend that we see right now for the Shawnee Mission School District in terms of controlling some of our costs. So just a little bit of this before he gets started. As you know, we do have a benefits committee that we work with through the course of the year that has representatives. We met earlier this year. We had looked at some potential opportunities for us to save on our medical insurance, and the committee voted yes to move forward with that. So this is the result of what our situation will be for our health insurance as we move forward with our employees January 1, 2017. So Dave, I'll let you share the news.
Thank you,
for
Dr.
being
Southwick.
here.
Dr. Henson, board members, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here tonight. We're excited to relay some information about the plan, much of what you've seen, but just a little bit of additional information, probably. A little bit of history about CBIZ and Shawnee Mission School District. We've been working with the district since late 2013. We provide benefits consulting. Part of our company also provides your property casualty consulting, retirement plan consulting to the district. We also provide on-site clinic and wellness consulting to the district. We have a couple of employees at the district. One is Mallory, who's sitting next to me tonight, who resides in the benefits office and has been a great help in the last, she's been with us now with you all for about 3 months, so we're very excited about her addition. And also Tammy McCoy, who's your wellness coordinator, who resides here at the district as well. Some brief history about the medical plan, which is what we're concentrating on. There have not been any plan design changes to the plan since October of 2011. There was a renewal in October. The following year, the plan renewed on January 1st, but the benefits have remained the same and will have remained the same until January 1st of 2017. The rate increase last year, effective January 1st, was 8.8%. On January 1st, the district increased the contribution from the $533 monthly per employee to $583 if an employee went through a biometric screening and did a health risk assessment. And we're very pleased through Tammy and everyone's very hard work. 90% of your employees went through that screening process. So 90% of the employees got that extra $50 monthly. So we're very, very pleased with that process. This year, Dr. Southwick and administration challenged us to think a little bit differently about this renewal. Now, everyone challenges us to make sure we bring you the cheapest renewal, right? That's pretty much what we have to do every year. But we also wanted to think outside the box to try to bring to you plan options, changed, plan options that would be at current pricing. So try to keep the plan at the current pricing level so that employees in the district wouldn't have any additional premium out of pocket. But then also to look at plan options that were lower than the current pricing. Now, I think you understand this, but that's an extreme challenge. So we did have to think outside the box. Now, luckily, we're working with some partners that have some relatively new ideas to the market that we're going to talk about. Your current plans that you have in place, you have 3 plans in place. You have an HMO plan, a health maintenance organization plan, where 60% of your employees are covered. You have a traditional PPO plan, which is just a deductible and coinsurance plan, if you will. 22% of your employees are covered there. And you have a qualified high deductible healthcare plan with an HSA, or health savings account plan, and you have about 18% of your employees there. The unique part about that qualified high deductible healthcare plan is that the district, based on the pricing of the plan, contributes over $1,000 to that, to an individual employee's HSA. So they start out, or they actually get a contribution monthly, but at the end of the year, they'll have over $1,000 in that HSA that they can spend on healthcare expenses. That's the trend going, as you may know, in the industry right now, is qualified high deductible healthcare plans. When we went through the renewal process, to leave the plans the same as they are today would have been a 6.1% increase. And working with administration and with the benefits committee, we proposed a couple of different changes. The main changes were modifying the plans so that we're going to change deductibles, coinsurance, copays, et cetera. But we're also going to add 2 plans with different networks of providers. This is the really unique piece that Blue Cross brings to the table now. This is going to be a high-performance network, and it's a more narrow network than employees are used to having today. We'll talk about that in a minute. We've listed out the changes on the plan. You can see there 5 plans. It will be still continue to have the HMO, a little bit more out of pocket there in terms of copays. Continue to have the traditional plan, have higher deductibles and higher copays on that plan as well. Have the qualified high deductible healthcare plan and increase that deductible pretty dramatically. And then offer 2 additional plans, a PPO plan and an additional qualified high deductible healthcare plan, where the difference is that narrow network. And you can see the percentages there at the side. 2.6% increase for the HMO and the PPO with those plan design changes. The qualified plan would be 3% over current with those changes. And then with the new network, with that high performance network, a very dramatic decrease over current. 8% and 7% approximately. That narrow network is essentially, it's about competition. That smaller network is going to allow better pricing. Those hospitals are going to provide better pricing to the insurance company. And those hospitals are going to be Shawnee Mission, Olathe Med, University of Kansas Hospital, Children's Mercy, both campuses, Liberty, North Kansas City, and Truman Med, both campuses there. Now, we did some analysis on claims experience, and for the past 12 months, 45% of the top 100 inpatient facilities were in that narrow network. So in other words, of all the inpatient visits, 45% of them were in that narrow network. 41% of the top outpatient providers were in that narrow network, and I neglected to mention 5 out of the top 10 on the inpatient facilities and 6 out of the top 10 on the outpatient. 55% of, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Nope.
Oh, okay, sorry. 55% of the top 100 PCPs are primary care physicians, which is 7 out of 10, and 69 of the top 100 specialists, 8 out of 10. This network has been offered by a few other clients in Kansas City. This is by far the most crossover, if you will, of any of those that we've looked at. So we're very excited about that possibility. A lot of numbers here, I apologize for that, really hard to read. The first box there shows how the current plans are priced. So you can see the premium of the plan on the left side, what your contribution is currently in that top box, and then what the employee contribution is monthly. You can see that one number in parentheses, that's a negative number. That represents the contribution to the HSA from the district to the employee. Now, if you just took the regular 6.1% increase, now this includes the $600 that the district is proposing to go to on January 1st, as opposed to the $583. Now, that $600 is assuming the employee does the screening. So if they don't do the screening, they get $550 monthly. So you can see the 5 plans at the bottom, what the pricing is going to be, and what the employee contribution is going to be for each of those plans. One of the things that we constantly talk about is how much it costs to not just for the district or for our client to insure their employees, but how much it costs for those employees to insure their dependents. And one of the nice things about a qualified high deductible health care plan is that plan allows an employee to insure the dependents for a lower cost than traditional plans. Now you can see here, if you look just as an example at the far right, actually the lower the lower right-hand corner, you can see the premium for that Blue Select Plus PPO, which is that narrow network, for an employee to insure their family is $1,872 a month. That's the renewal on the plan. Today, they pay, after the district contribution with the screening, $1,449 monthly to insure their family. Under this plan, should they choose to use that narrow network, they'll be able to pay $1,272. That's a savings of $177 monthly to the employee to insure their family. Now, the plan has changed. First time it's been changed since 2011, and it is a narrow network. It's not going to be for everybody. There is a lot of analysis to be done on the part of individual employees as to whether this plan makes sense for them. So I want to talk a little bit about the education, but before we move on from that pretty busy page, I just want to make sure that makes sense to everyone. So what we're going to be doing...
Dave, I might mention one of the things that we have discussed on the increase for someone that wants to stay in the plan that they are right now. We didn't want to necessarily force them to change their plan, but we did look at making a recommendation of a $17 additional amount that the board would pay. That's that $583 to $600. That $17 does not provide any kind of increase to the employee as we move, even if they decide they want to stay in the plan. So making this move, making this adjustment, but at the same time offering that $17 extra per month, so that if I needed to stay on that plan because of my doctor, the board was paying that amount, that there would be no additional money out of their pocket. So.
Open enrollment's traditionally in October. We're going to continue that process. We're going to stretch it out just a little bit, probably add a couple of extra weeks. We are going to conduct one-on-one meetings with all eligible employees. We'd like to strongly encourage every employee to sit down with someone and talk about these plans, because they're different. The first time they've changed since 2011. The last thing we want is someone to choose based on premium only. That's not always a good thing, but we want to give them an opportunity, and actually we're going to work with a vendor that's going to provide that information, and they're going to be able, we're actually going to combine and do reports. So we'll be able to, every individual will be able to tell them, what physician do you want to maintain, or do you want to be able to keep? That physician is in the new network, that physician is not in the new network. How's that going to impact you if you want to go to the new network, but you continue to use that one provider out of the network? All those sorts of things. This is really complicated stuff. Obviously, it's complicated for people that are experts. So we want to make sure that we communicate that appropriately and properly and give people plenty of time to make those decisions. We'll also be offering some additional voluntary benefits, which may help offset some of the out-of-pocket costs that they would have if they were to have some illnesses, et cetera, that might incur some additional expense. Yes, ma'am.
Okay to ask a question?
Absolutely.
Okay. On your HMO current plan, you have a $400 copay per day. Is that hospital copay?
Yeah, that's a hospital copay, yes.
And now it goes up to $500
$500
per
a day. Yep.
So if you have a patient in the hospital for a week.
There's actually an out-of-pocket maximum on that.
Okay.
And give me 1 second here, I can look at that. Who carry HMO? Yeah, today that out-of-pocket maximum is $6,350. Okay? That is staying at $6,350. Mallory,
Okay.
correct? Yes. Thank you.
Second of all, on your HSA or your HSA?
Yes.
If you don't use it, you lose it, or it rolls over.
The health savings account is different than a flexible spending account, or it rolls over, you keep it. So it's money that either an employee or employer, in your case, for single coverage, the district puts money in there, that rolls over. If an employee uses it, they use it, it's tax-free, obviously, as long as they use it for appropriate expense. If they don't use it, that rolls over from year to year.
And as far as your network of physicians that you have, if I'm reading this right?
Yes.
Okay. What you have here is, let's just go to 55% would be available in primary care. Those are ones that are currently?
Yes, in other words, over the last 12 months, we ran a report that showed the top 100 primary care physicians. Obviously, there are more than that, but we ran the top 100. 55% of those top 100 are in that new high-performance network, and it happens to be 7 out of the top 10.
I think one of the concerns would be if you have a patient that goes to an HMO and they're told who they go to, they're assigned a physician. If they've had a long-term standing with a cardiologist or an oncologist or anything like that, they may be having to see people that are not in this group anymore. Is that correct?
That's certainly a possibility. I think that's, the HMO, in particular under the Blue Cross plan that you have today, under the HMO plan that you have today, that's a fairly broad network for an HMO, recognized as a fairly broad network for the HMO. The HMO network stays the same. There's not a different network available for the HMO itself. So if an employee is in the HMO today, they want to stay in the HMO, they stay in the HMO. They do have different benefits. As you've said, the copays are going up, but they can stay in that network. Those providers stay the same. If they choose, if perhaps their primary care or specialist or whomever happens to be in that narrow network, they might wish to go to one of the PPO plans, either the qualified high deductible healthcare plan or the PPO plan. So that's why we have to sit down with them in order to find out. I've run a report. It's a 200-page report about all the providers that the district uses. It's impossible to slice that and dice that the right way. So the easier way is by individual. They'll set up appointments to come and sit down with a communication specialist and talk about their provider and talk about who's available and who may not be available.
Because I know there are a lot of doctors that are getting out of HMO to some degree.
Well, and these aren't...
Because of cost reimbursement.
And that's accurate. There are a lot of physicians actually that are retiring in general or not accepting any insurance at all. But I want to be sure we understand this. The HMO is staying the same in terms of network. The PPO is going to be a narrower network. But that's why we're getting 15% savings. That's how, the 6% increase is what the plan is, and both those plans are going to be offered a 7 or 8% decrease. There's a reason for, along with some plan changes, there's a reason for that, and that's because they've negotiated more aggressive pricing. But it's an opportunity. You have 3 plans today. I would say, based on the last couple of years, I would say the movement has been nil between the plans. Nobody moves. There's not a reason to. Now there's a choice to go there and save money or choose to stay in the current plan.
Well, I've seen insurance companies make this information available, and they put it like at 8 point, so people can't read it.
Yeah.
So I would ask to please use 12.
Yeah,
And for some people, 14, because as we get older, we can't see the fine print. But I mean, I know of the insurance companies that do that because I deal with them.
And I think it's important to know that, obviously, we're not the insurance company. We work for the district. And the vendor that we're going to be utilizing to do this works for us and with us and for the district. And so it's not going to be, you have to be educated in insurance to deliver some of the information, but they're not insurance company people. A lot of good people at insurance companies, but these are trained communicators that
They
we're
should
going to be
not
using.
Yeah, describing insurance from the insurance company.
Mrs. Mack? This isn't for you, sir, but Dr. Southwick, did you say the Benefits Committee has looked through this? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. We
Please.
looked at a process as we were looking at renewal rates, and we basically had three options: stay exactly where we are and look at continued increases, look at the period of time that it's been since there's been any adjustments in terms of our deductibles and our co-pays, and then the last, would we consider the high-performance network? We had very good discussion. Coming out of that
Would you
discussion.
please tell who serves on the Benefits Committee?
Well, we
Not
have
individually,
three members that represent the teachers' organization. We have benefits people that are there. We have administrators that are involved, and we have central office people, and we do have representatives from our classified staff. So we represent everybody all of our employee groups. So they're the stakeholders that come to the table to have the discussion. As we looked at the times that we're in terms of increased costs, and also where we would be with our plan compared to others, and we're continuing to have conversations not only with other school districts in Johnson County, but in working with Dave and CBiz and his colleagues, but also looking at working with some of the cities as well. But our group had an opportunity to vote to keep it the same and not make any changes, to just look at deductible changes, or to look at deductible changes and looking at an option for the high-performance network. In the end, what we did is we have kind of a hybrid of all of those, because all of our plans saw a deductible change. We kept the original plans if people needed to be able to stay in networks, but we offered an opportunity for the savings to take place. And again, when we're looking at an opportunity of somewhere between 7 and 8% for us to save, that's real money back in the pockets for our employees, and that's the way they voted. So I don't have a vote. I conduct the meeting, but I don't have a vote, and that's what our employees said that they think that we should look at. And again, I'm going to say this last thing. I think as we look at our employees and trying to provide health insurance for a benefit, I'm sad to say that some of our employees don't make enough money from us on their salary schedules if they're classified people to pay their medical insurance. I've heard this, I've not seen it, but that we actually have had some people in the past that have written us a check at the end of the month so they could have medical insurance. So this is an attempt to provide options for people, for them to be able to save dollars for themselves and their families. So I was proud of the group and the work that they did, and also Blue Cross Blue Shield and Mr. Johnson, and that took the challenge seriously, and I think have delivered us some options for some good numbers.
And I have some comments, but I think we preempted the end of your presentation, so I can wait if you
No,
want to finish.
this is the end of my
Oh,
presentation.
okay, we're to that part there. I just wanted to say, I think, you were asked to think out of the box, and by expanding the different programs that are available to our employees is a great idea. Change is always hard for people, so I really commend you on the individual counseling so they can really figure it out. Because when you just get the information, the 8-point type that Mrs. Neighbor was talking about, it's so hard to know exactly in every instance and every provider what you want to do. So that counseling is absolutely great. And I also commend you for the health assessments and the wellness factor of this, because I know several stories of people that, went ahead and had this assessment done, and they found something that was medically really needed treatment. And so that benefits them, it benefits us for our absenteeism, all of that kind of stuff. So that, it's a wonderful, there's 3 comments anyway that I can make to thank you anyway for this plan that you've presented this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a couple
Mr.
wrap-up
Stratton.
questions about the enrollment process, because I think that's the key to the success,
Mm-hmm.
as you outlined. 4 to 6 week window, lots of employees. First of all, does your firm do the enrollment, or do you subcontract that out to a
We're
vendor?
subcontracting it out.
And do those vendors then work in the building, or is there central locations that employees go to meet these enrollment meeting specialists?
They'll do both. And actually, they've offered to, we've yet to discuss this actually, they've offered to provide substitute teachers so teachers can get out of class and go sit down with the counselor. So that is yet to be, all of the logistics. We're actually meeting, I think, next week to talk with staff and figure all those things out.
Right. And then the last piece, as Dr. Southwick mentioned, that some folks, because of compensation, numbers of hours worked, et cetera, pretty tricky to meet these premiums. Are these enrollment specialists able to also speak to the federal exchange, the other exchanges that are offered? Can they refer them saying, you'd probably qualify for a reduced premium in the exchange?
That's an interesting question. Generally, as part of the exchange and as part of being employed by the district, the vast majority are not going to qualify for a discounted premium or for a subsidy. Now, those people aren't necessarily qualified in the exchange, but we have people that are. So that's part of the communication process. If it's determined that they want to look at the exchange, then we will have resources for them to be able to do that. And that would be someone within our office.
Great. I just didn't know if you were precluded legally to present that.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We're not.
Thank you. That's all.
Anybody else? Questions?
No. Great job.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Okay, we move to S2, District Organization. Dr. Henson?
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn. I'll highlight just a few items on the district organizational chart. It's a long, narrow chart. We've been trying to blow it up in many different ways so you could really see it. And so I'll just highlight a couple of things. There aren't any additions to the org chart. There are a couple of some changes and additions to job description. So you'll notice the second one from the left, that's Dr. Ziegler. And so we've been able to remove some of the curriculum and instruction duties from Dr. Ziegler so she could pick up other things that have really blossomed. One of those things you heard about tonight, partnership in relation to with Kansas State University, which has really taken off, some other partnerships that we're working on right now. So not a change there in relation to anything other than some shifting of some job responsibilities. The next item, the third from the left, is the position that Dr. Hubbard holds, so we moved some of those curriculum and instruction supervision as well over to Dr. Hubbard. I made a change in relation to a couple of titles that don't impact anything at all other than the title, and I'll give you an example. So we have the Executive Director of Facilities. Well, we had the Assistant Director at O&M, Operations and Maintenance, and people would call and ask to talk to the Director, and he said, well, really, I'm the Assistant Director. No, I don't want to talk to the Assistant Director, I want to talk to the Director. Okay, so we have a director now at O&M, but to have a director that's supervised by a director, so we have executive directors in those positions. It doesn't change anything else in relation to those positions. Another change that we made was moving transportation over to Dr. Atha. And as you know, we have a little bit of construction, remodeling, and renovation going on. Dr. Atha said, I don't have enough to do. I'd be happy to take that. Not exactly how that unfolded. Didn't unfold that way at all, actually. And so we've made some of those shifts just based on demand. Other than that, the positions are the same in your chart that you've seen there previously. The only one that I'm contemplating working on, I mentioned to you the expansion of Jump Start as we are preparing to move our early education out into our buildings, really looking for that individual that would coordinate all of the early education services for the Shawnee Mission School District. So I haven't made a decision in that regard, but that's something that certainly the future could hold. But again, all these other positions other than those tweaks and job titles that I mentioned to you and some of those responsibilities are the same. It's the same organizational chart that you've seen previously. Be happy to answer any questions.
Looks great.
The print's smaller probably than most insurance companies use.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably too font.
It might be to get it on a page, and so we tried to play with it in every form and fashion and send it to ICT, and so it remains a challenge. So we can certainly print those out.
Legal size.
Yeah. Poster size,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Goodburn.
Okay. S3, Petty Cash.
Mr. Knapp, we welcome you to the podium tonight, Mr. Knapp. And so we have an annual report that we're required to give you in relation to petty cash. Mr. Knapp?
Well, good evening. Like Dr. Henson says, we present this to you twice a year, once in January and for the end of the year. The petty cash each year gets smaller and smaller. One of the major reason is that we introduced the P cards, the purchasing cards, so less and less. I think we're only going to have one elementary building next year even ask for petty cash. But again, you see middle schools and high schools have petty cash, and they mainly use those for their cash boxes, for gate receipts and fee payment. And the next report is the student activities report. These are building funds. So this would be, we break it down into two areas. The student activities, which is mainly gate receipts, and then the other is your student clubs. And so this represents the beginning balance of last fiscal year receipts and expenditures and ending balance. Any questions on any of those two? Then this third one is the cash balance. That was brand new. The legislators passed that a year ago. We started that July 1st. And we reported this on a monthly basis this year, our cash balances. So this is the cash balances as of June 30th, 2016, what we just ended our fiscal year with. You can see the general fund and the supplemental general fund are negative $12.4 million and then a negative $76,000. That is the state aid payment that it was for 15-16, and they hold back and send that to us on July 7th. We are told to book it as a receivable. They asked us this year to back it out, probably to show that it's a negative balance. So we really, on July 7th, we got $12.4 million in general state aid, which would have made that balance about $9,000 or $10,000 at the end of the year. Any questions on that? Okay. And again, you can see these are all the balances by fund. The special ed fund is where we keep our operating balance. Contingency reserve is another one that we could access if we needed to for operating funds. But all the other funds is pretty much restricted. It's for that purpose. Capital outlay is for that purpose. The other ones are student fee driven or something that needs to be used for that purpose. Any questions on that?
Mr. Knapp?
Yes.
We've discussed 67, the special assessment. Can you try to explain that to the board, please?
The special assessment is essentially just a flow-through of monies. We are allowed to use our Johnson County wastewater to pay that, and then any easements on our properties. And the county requires us to levy that mill levy to collect that tax, and then we remit it back to Johnson County. We get an invoice and we pay that twice a year, once in December and once in June. So it just kind of flows through.
So to make it clear, that money is really not our money. So we're collecting for the county and remitting it to the
That's
county
correct.
twice annually.
That's correct.
Great.
Questions on that report at all? Okay, thank you, Mr. Knapp.
Okay, so we are to T1, comments from board members. Comments? Mrs. Mack.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to highlight that we noticed our budget hearing for August the 15th at 7 p.m. Not many people usually attend that, but I would encourage anyone that has questions about or want to know how the monies are spent, please come to those budget hearings. They're quite informative. And my second thing is I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Henson, and I wanted to say thank you to John Douglas. You may have noticed an increase in security tonight, and it is really unfortunate that there is a need to increase it. I just wanted to stop and say thank you to our Shawnee Mission Police Force for being here. Thank you for all you do all the time. That's all. Thank you.
Mrs. Neighbor.
I know our our only speaker in open forum referred to a couple of things, but one of the things that our board president recently did was write an article of explanation in the Prairie Village Post regarding the subject matter that the gentleman was speaking to. And I don't know if you can share, just off the top of your head, with us what that says, because I think it gives some definition or explanation, and people may not have seen that. And I think it's important that people understand the facts.
Thank you, Ms. Niebuhr. I was actually going to read it here in a minute. It's part of my board comments.
Segue. We did have copies for it here, too.
Yeah, we did. There are copies over there, too, and it's on the district website and was pushed out on social media and things like that, too. So does anyone, I'll read it, but then does anyone else have any other comments? No? No? Okay. I will read it. Okay, so this was in response to a couple articles that were in the media, and we just wanted to highlight, get the facts out there about different things. So I'm just going to read this. It was Shawnee Mission Board of Education President Sarah Goodburn shares a message with the community. There have been recent media reports highlighting salary issues and negotiations in the Shawnee Mission School District. As Board of Education President, I want to offer accurate information on these issues to our Shawnee Mission community. Salary increases for the superintendent and other top administrators referenced in reports reflect contracts that were approved more than a year ago at the June 22, 2015 board meeting with an effective date of July 1, 2015. In December 2015, the board approved the extension of contracts for Dr. Jim Henson and Dr. Kenny Southwick. That December 2015 action extended the time of the contract for an additional year through 2018-2019, and salary and compensation terms remained unchanged. No increases in salary have been awarded to any administrators for the 2016-2017 school year. We typically do not consider salary increases for administrators or other employee groups until the negotiations process with our teachers has reached a tentative contractual agreement. The negotiating teams met, and while discussion has been productive and yielded some tentative agreements on specific issues, overall agreement on a contract was not reached. The NEAS Shawnee Mission team and team representing the board agreed that they were at impasse in negotiations and will proceed through this process. The district has a long-standing positive relationship with our teachers, and we remain optimistic that a contract will be reached through this process. Since Dr. Henson's arrival in the district, he has been working with the full support of the board to identify strategic initiatives with the input of stakeholders to reorganize the administrative footprint, to reduce overall administrative costs, and to allocate resources in a way that best supports the goal of providing the best education to the students of the Shawnee Mission School District. In 2015, an administration reorganization was implemented. Job descriptions were rewritten, and duties formerly assigned to several administrators were consolidated and reassigned under a smaller administrative footprint. With an increase in scope of administrative responsibilities and oversight, compensation increases are appropriate. Through this reorganization, overall administrative costs for the 2015-2016 school year were reduced by approximately $1.8 million. These cost savings were intentionally reallocated to support students in the classroom through efforts to hire additional staff, to support lower class sizes, and eliminate all-day kindergarten fees and elementary fees for families. The Board of Education delegates operational responsibility to the school district to the superintendent, of the school district to the superintendent. The board evaluates and assesses the performance of the superintendent. The board conducts 2 evaluations of the superintendent each year, during which they review the progress and/or completion of goals outlined as part of the district's 10-year strategic plan and evaluate leadership skills. Board members conducted a comparative review of salaries of other superintendents in the area, leading districts of similar size, in order to ensure the district remains competitive in its ability to attract and retain high-quality, experienced leaders. According to data from the Kansas State Department of Education, the Shawnee Mission School District ranks second most efficient in the state in terms of administrator-to-pupil ratio. The superintendent and board have demonstrated an ongoing commitment to supporting salaries and benefits for all staff members, even during challenging fiscal times. Through the strategic planning process, our community has clearly indicated its support for quality education. To achieve this strategic goal of providing the best education for all students, it is essential to be able to employ talented, high-qualified staff members in all positions and for the district to remain competitive in this effort. Thank you.
One more quick question.
Sure.
The percentage that was talked about in there, the 9.5 that people are referring to, that is spread out over 4 years? All right, so it didn't happen all in 1 year. It's spread out over 4 years, and we've been giving 3.2, sometimes 2 point something, so the average for teachers is the same over 4 years, if we look at what we've done. Is that correct, or is that the wrong assumption?
The average for teachers is going to be 10 to 12% over the last 4 years based on what we've proposed. And so the difference is when you put a salary in and you freeze it. And so the teachers, we negotiate every year. So, for example, for my contract, it's not even, compensation is not even discussed until 1920, so it's a frozen number. That's it, right?
No, you said 2020.
1920.
2019.
2019, 2020. So it's a frozen amount.
So it's spread out over that period of time.
It's-
So in essence, the percentage we're looking at is either very close to the same or less than what we are giving the teachers. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
That needs to be explained, I think, in another article, because I don't think a lot of people understood that. Because they thought it was a lump sum at what time, and that's what I've heard.
Anybody else? Dr. Denny?
I move the Board of Education recess to executive session in order to discuss personnel matters related to non-elected personnel, to consult with our attorney on matters deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, to discuss matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, and to discuss matters relating to the acquisition of real property. The meeting will reconvene at 9:25, and no further business will be conducted following the executive session.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Mack. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all for coming tonight.
I didn't hear who seconded.